Hello dear students, welcome to English class. I hope all of you are doing well. Students, I'll be continuing with poem 2, that is Sherlock Holmes by John Northern Hilliard. So students, I had already explained you the poem. I have already explained you the stanzas, all the 12 stanzas, and in this video I'll be explaining you the exercises of this poem. So let's start with the exercises that are given on page number 24th. So we have understanding the poem. The heading is understanding the poem. And the first question, that is question number A, that says complete the sentences with words and phrases from the poem. So there are certain sentences given and you have to complete those sentences with the help of words and phrases from the poem, given in the poem. So let's start with question number or sentence number 1. So Sherlock Holmes was an dash man who pursued a dash. So Sherlock Holmes was an ingenious man. Sherlock Holmes was an ingenious man. Ingenious means very clever, having new ideas. Who pursued a dash. Who pursued a strange career. Strange means unusual career. The poet had called his career as strange. Second, Holmes was able to solve cases with the help of clues like dash, dash or dash. So he was able to solve his cases with the help of small or minimal clues like a bit of string, a button or a strand of hair. So with the minimal clues or hints, he could easily solve his cases. So I hope that question number 2 is clear to everybody. Now let's come to the third sentence. So the third sentence is, after Holmes had dash his culprit, the person would be put dash. So after Holmes had bagged his culprit, bagged means to caught, to catch the culprit. So after, I'm saying this third sentence again. Now students, let's come to the third sentence. After Holmes had After Holmes had dashed his culprit, the person would be put dash. So after Holmes had bagged his culprit, bagged means to catch the culprit, the person would be put dash, that means behind bars. So I hope that the third sentence is clear to everybody. Now let's move to the fourth sentence. The deeds of the other detectives would fill a dash. So the deeds of the other detectives would fill a dozen tomes. Tomes here means the deeds, means the work of other detectives would fill big books. They would fill the pages down. So here the correct word or the correct words will be a dozen tomes. Now let's move to the fifth sentence. Holmes would have solved the dash case in dash. So Holmes would have solved the Rue Morgue case in half a day or so. Next, the sixth sentence. The books of many well-known detective writers were dash when Holmes dash. So the books of many well-known detective writers were tossed aside when Holmes appeared upon the screen. So when it means when Holmes came on the screen, or when his stories or novels came, then the readers used to shift towards Holmes and they used to keep aside the novels or stories of other writers. So I hope that question number A is clear to everybody. Now students, we will move to question number B. So question number B is, answer the questions with reference to content, with reference to context. So there will be certain lines or certain certain lines will be given, and on the basis of those lines questions will be provided. So you have to solve the questions on the basis of the lines given. So let's see the first question. That is, the first lines are, we must admit that since he quit work, life's never been the same. So according to these two lines, the questions are: question number A, why do you think life has not been the same for the poet since Holmes quit work? See, life has not been the same for the poet since Holmes quit work because he missed reading about the detective's brilliant plot. He was a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes, and when the writer had quit, that means when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle had stopped writing, so the poet used to miss the work of Sherlock Holmes. He used to follow Holmes' case with great interest, but when the author, that is Conan Doyle, stopped writing the stories, that means then Holmes also stopped doing work. Then there was a sudden pause in the poet's life as well. So since he was a great follower, he was a great fan of Sherlock Holmes, so when the author, that means when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle stopped writing, it created a pause in the life of the poet also. So I hope that question number A is clear to everybody. Now let's come to question number B. So question number B is: how did the poet feel about Holmes' work while the latter was still working? Latter means Holmes. Latter here means Holmes. So the poet used to follow the cases of Holmes with keen interest, but because Holmes managed to solve each crime that he investigated, the poet felt that Holmes' victories had become monotonous, that means repetitive or boring, because he was able to solve every case, he was able to solve each case successfully. That's why the poet thinks that his victories or his success had become monotonous or repetitive. Also, there was nothing new to look forward, so as the author had stopped writing these stories, and the poet feels that since there was nothing new, the Sherlock Holmes would solve each case with his brilliance and intelligence, so the author had stopped writing about the stories. Now let's come to question number C. So question number C: what adjective does the poet use to refer to Holmes' success in solving cases? Why do you think he uses this word? So the poet has used the word monotonous in order to refer to Holmes' success in solving cases. Monotonous means, as I told you in the previous question, that monotonous means repetitive or boring. So it suggests that after a time, the element of surprise in the way Holmes solved his cases was lost, and hence the stories became somewhat boring and repetitive. Means there was no surprise element in the story, because the readers would know that he would be able to solve every case with his intelligence, wit and brilliance. So there was nothing new. So the success, Holmes' success had become boring or repetitive. So the poet has used the adjective monotonous. Now let's move to question number D. So question number D is: what does the poet go on to say about Holmes' intelligence? So the poet uses the idiom on tap. On tap means ever ready to provide intelligence, means always ready to solve the case with intelligence or brilliance. So the poet uses the idiom on tap to refer to Holmes' intelligence, and he says that the detective always kept his intelligence alert and ready for the next case. He was always ready, he had enough brilliance and intelligence, and as a result Holmes always had a clue about the crime and as a result Holmes always had a clue about the crime a criminal was likely to commit. He could guess how the mind of a criminal worked each time he pursued a case. He could read the minds of criminals. He knew that what the criminal would do, what would be the next step of the criminal, and with the help of minimal clues, with the help of minimal hints, he could easily solve his cases. So I hope that first question is clear to everybody. Now let's move to the second question. Now we have some more lines here. So the lines are, his friend Watson then would spend a yarn from the details of the case. So now let's move to the questions. Let's see question number A. Who is Watson? Whose friend is he? So Watson is a doctor who helped Sherlock Holmes in order to solve many cases. And who is he? He is Holmes' friend, or I would say he is Holmes' best friend. He has always accompanied Holmes in solving cases. Okay, now let's move to question number B. So question number B is, what case is being referred to in these lines? How would Watson come to know of the case? So here the case, the Tonkin 3 or mystery of a face is referred. See, after Holmes caught the criminal and put him safe behind the bars, then he would share his story, he would share his experience, how he solved the case with Watson over coffee, and they used to talk for hours, that means more than 2 hours or like that. And this is how Watson would come to know about the case. Now let's come to question number C. So question number C is, what would Watson do after Holmes had told him about the case? See, after Holmes explained each case to him, then Watson would put it together in a form of a story. He would compile it, he would compile all the information and give it an interesting name. So what he would do, he would compile all the information, he would collect it together and then give it an interesting name. That means he used to label the story. Okay, question number question number D. What is meant by the idiom spin a yarn? See, spin a yarn means to tell a story. Watson would spin a yarn. Watson would spin a yarn, that means Watson would tell a story, he would create a story from the information gathered from Sherlock Holmes. So I hope that question number 2 is clear to everybody. Now let's move to question number 3. Now we have some more lines. So the lines are, but never one that can compare with Mr. Sherlock Holmes. So on the basis of the lines, we have the question, that is question number A. So question number A is, who can never compare to Sherlock Holmes? What skill did other detectives have according to the poet? See, according to the poet, no other detective could be compared to Sherlock Holmes. The other detectives were clever, they were wise, they were also brave, and they were expert in disguising. That means they were able to hide their appearance themselves while solving the cases, like if I talk about M. Leacock. But the poet thought that they all were inferior to Holmes. They were incomparable. Holmes could not be compared to any other private detective. He was, I would say, according to the poet, he was the perfect private detective. So I hope that question number A is clear to everybody. Now let's move to question number B. Name some of the other detectives and their creators mentioned in the poem. So the other detectives and their creators are Monsieur Leacock, created by a French writer Gaboriau. Then we have Auguste Dupin, created by Edgar Allan Poe. The poet also mentions about Anna Catherine Green. The poet calls her Mrs. Green. So these are the detectives and their creators mentioned in the poem. So now let's move to question number C. So question number C is, what happened to them after Holmes appeared on the screen? So they were tossed aside as they did not match up to Holmes as his brilliance. So once or after Holmes appeared on the screen, they were tossed aside. That means the readers were not interested to read their stories. Rather, the readers were interested to read the stories of Sherlock Holmes. Okay, the last question, that is question number D. So the question is, how does the poet go on to cheer for Holmes and Watson? See, the poet cheers for Holmes by wishing that his glory never diminishes, and he praises Watson for his faithfulness to Holmes as a loyal friend. See, Watson was a very loyal friend to Sherlock Holmes. He used to accompany him in almost all the cases. So the poet wishes that the glory never diminishes. Now students, let's come to life skills and values. Here we have 3 questions. Let me explain the first question. So the first question is, how does the poet hope for Holmes to be immortalized? Immortalized means to live forever. That means immortalized. See, the poet hopes that the creator of these stories, that means Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he attains a prophet's lifespan and writes about Holmes all his life. See, since the prophets they are immortal, that means they live forever in the eyes of their followers. So he hopes that Doyle's stories about Holmes would last forever as well, and he wishes that Holmes' glory never grows dim. His glory, he wants him to attain a prophet's lifespan, that means to live forever for the readers. Next, let's move to question number 2. So question number 2 is, how does the poem convey a sense of old things giving away to the new? So the poem conveys a sense of old things giving way to the new by mentioning the works that were once popular but which gradually lost their appeal. For example, Dupin's Rue Morgue, then novels of Gaboriau and the tales of Mrs. Green. The poet says that these were put aside when Sherlock Holmes stories began to appear. So earlier they were popular when Sherlock Holmes was not, when the stories of Sherlock Holmes were not available, but once the stories of Sherlock Holmes came, then all the previous works of writers were put aside. So I hope that question number 2 is clear to everybody. Now let's move to the third question. Do you like any author as much as the poet likes Arthur Conan Doyle? Why do you like his or her writing? So students, you have to mention about your favorite author, the author that you like as much as the poet likes Arthur Conan Doyle for his work. So and also you have to mention that why you like the work of that author or why you like the writing. For example, it may be because of the thrilling plots, because of the loving characters, because of the theme of the story, or the personality of the plots or characters, or whatever you like. You have to mention that why you like the writing of the particular poet or poetress. So I hope that this poem is clear to everybody, and also all the exercises are clear to everybody. Thank you so much students. I'll see you all in the next video with a new chapter. Thank you so much. Stay safe.